You think you're good at solving problems, but a company called Toyota found something else. They saw people patching things up over and over. What they uncovered was a basic mistake in how we deal with every single issue. This is the exact mistake that costs us time, money, and a ton of frustration. We're all busy, so when a problem pops up, we grab the first solution that looks like it'll work. We put a patch on it and move on. But that's not really solving anything. Toyota figured this out a long time ago. They saw that the real key wasn't being fast. Take the race to build the first successful hybrid car. While other car makers bet everything on one or two big ideas, Toyota did something completely different. For what would become the Prius, they looked at 80 different ways to power the car. They didn't just jump at the first good idea. They took the time to dig deep and find the absolute best one. And that exact mindset led to one of the most powerful and simple problem-solving tools ever created. It's called the 5 whys. The idea is that you don't stop at the first obvious answer. You have to ask why again and again until you uncover the thing that's really causing the problem. Most of the time, the issue you see on the surface is just a symptom. The real problem is buried much deeper. This isn't about some complicated corporate strategy. It's a simple shift in thinking that helps you stop fixing the same things over and over. It's a cycle almost every business gets stuck in. We see a problem, we put a patch on it, and we move on. But then, the same problem, or one just like it, pops right back up a few weeks later. This is the symptom trap. We're so focused on fixing the immediate fire that we never look for the person who's lighting the matches. This often happens because we treat problem-solving like a checklist. We look for the fastest, easiest box to tick instead of actually digging in to understand what's going on. Let me give you a really simple example. Let's say a customer is angry because their repaired part was delivered late. The easy answer, the symptom, is to just blame the shipping company. Case closed, right? But if you ask why, you start to see the real story. Okay, why was it shipped late? Because the repair work suddenly stopped halfway through. Why did the work stop? Because a data clerk entered the wrong information into the system. Why did they enter the wrong info? Because the label on the package was smudged and unreadable. And why was the label unreadable? Because the company was trying to save a few pennies by using cheap labels and low-quality printer ink. See the difference? The first answer blames someone else. The real answer points to a roll of labels you can fix for good. One is a patch, the other is a solution. And the cost of choosing the patch over the solution can be enormous. Think back to Toyota developing the Prius. Other car companies were betting billions on just one or two big ideas, like hydrogen fuel cells, that weren't even close to ready. Toyota did the opposite. They looked at 80 different ways to power their new car. They took the time to find the absolute best path forward. The result? The Prius was a monster hit. It was making a profit within 2 years. When you realize a new car can cost anywhere from $1 to $6 billion to develop, you see that Toyota's deep dive didn't just give them a bestseller. It saved them from making a multi-billion-dollar mistake. That's the real power of finding the root cause. This obsession with finding the real answer wasn't just a good idea. At Toyota, it became a system. And it all started with the company's founder, Taiichi Toyota, and he was always looking for ways to make things work better. He noticed that people would constantly fix the most obvious surface-level issue without ever stopping to ask what caused it in the first place. So he developed a simple, almost brilliant technique to force his teams to dig deeper. It's now famous as the 5 whys. The concept is incredibly straightforward. When something goes wrong, you ask why. And when you get an answer, you ask why again. You keep doing this until you get to the real heart of the issue. Now, the number 5 isn't a magic number. Sometimes it only takes 3 whys. Other times, it might take more. The real goal is to push past the easy excuses and find the actual breakdown in the process. Because if you only ask why once or twice, you're almost guaranteed to still be looking at a symptom. You're still caught in that trap of the quick, temporary fix. This whole mindset was later baked into the company's DNA by Taiichi Ohno, one of the key architects of the entire Toyota production system. He had a core belief: you never ever accept the first answer. He taught that the first answer is just the start of the investigation, not the end of it. By constantly pushing his teams to dig deeper, he trained them to see the entire chain of events. They learned to connect how a tiny, seemingly harmless issue in one department could cause a massive failure somewhere else down the line. And this creates a fundamental shift. It moves the focus away from asking who messed up and toward asking what part of our system allowed this to happen. One is about finding a person to blame, The other is about finding a process to fix. That's the secret sauce. It's about building a smarter system that stops the problem from ever coming back. All right, so what does this look like in the real world? Let's walk through an actual example to see how it works. Imagine a company keeps getting complaints because repaired parts are being delivered late to customers. The team gets together and asks the first, most obvious question: why are the deliveries late? The initial answer is, because the repair process got held up. Okay, that's a start, but it's still just a symptom. So they dig again. Why did the repair process get held up? Answer: because someone entered the wrong information into our tracking system. Now we're getting somewhere. But we can't stop there. Why did they enter the wrong information? Answer: because the label on the package they received was impossible to read. We're close. You can feel it. So, why was the label unreadable? Answer: because the ink smeared when someone handled the box. And here it is, the final question, the one that gets to the heart of it. Why did the ink smear? The real answer: because the labels and ink we buy are cheap, and they're not good enough to hold up. Boom. That's the root cause. Notice how the first few answers pointed to things like employee error, but the final answer pointed to a broken process, a bad purchasing decision. You can retrain an employee all day long, but if you're still giving them bad labels, the problem will never go away. Fix the label supply, and you fix the entire chain of failures. But to make this work every time, there are a couple of ground rules. First, problems are rarely simple. When you ask why, you might get 2 or 3 different answers. That's perfectly fine. You just follow each of those paths separately, like branches growing on a tree. Second, you have to verify your answers in the real world. At Toyota, they call this going to the gemba, the actual place where the work is done. Go to the factory floor, the shipping dock, the office. Don't just guess from a conference room. If you can't prove an answer is true, you stop following that path. And this is the most important part. The 5 whys isn't a checklist. It's a tool for thinking. The biggest mistake people make is just trying to fill in 5 blanks. The real goal is to challenge your own assumptions and dig until you find something you can actually fix for good. So how do you put this into practice? It all starts before you even ask the first why. The very first step is getting the right people in the room. This is where most teams get it wrong. They just grab a few managers and call it a day. But real breakthroughs happen when you build a team with different viewpoints. If you're trying to solve a problem on the factory floor, you don't just need the floor supervisor. You need one of the people who actually operates the machine. And maybe you even need the person from purchasing who ordered the parts for it. Each person sees a completely different piece of the puzzle. When you bring them all together, you get a 360-degree view of the problem. This is how you uncover root causes that might have stayed hidden otherwise. The whole point is to find the best possible solution, not just the first one that sounds good. Here's a great example of this thinking in action. When Toyota was first developing the Prius, the team didn't just explore a few ways to power the car. They evaluated 80 different possibilities before they landed on the famous gasoline-electric hybrid system. That's what this process is all about. A really effective way to do this is to get your cross-functional team together and then break them into smaller groups of 3 or 4 people. Have each small group work on the problem and come up with their own chain of whys. You'll be amazed at what happens. Often, the groups will come back with 2 or 3 completely different root causes. By exploring all of those paths, you make sure you're not just fixing a symptom, but finding the true source of the breakdown.